Earlier today, I had a conversation with a colleague where we talked about this thing that I was seeing happening here in Swaziland, and I think, why would someone do that way? That's not how I would approach that issue. And I talked to them because there's someone I could trust about culture and what's happening and what people are thinking and doing. And it's a person I also, if I need to maybe make an important announcement or presentation or work with a group of people, that I'll go to say, I need to communicate this. I'm thinking about this and this. What else am I missing? So that they can tell me, oh, Brad, you need to think about X, Y, and Z because culturally this is how this is going to play out. And I believe as we talk about adapting to diversity, that one of the most important things that we need to remember is one of the most important things we need to do is to find a trusted colleague, mentor, someone who understands the culture and is willing to talk honestly with you about how you're behaving and how you're being perceived, and even to be able to ask questions about what you perceive and what can be done about that. And that's been perhaps the most helpful thing for me, because as building cultural proficiency means that I must be someone who asks questions, who's inquisitive, who tries to learn about those things, about the culture, about the differences, and about how one acts and behaves. And having someone you can talk to is a big piece of that, as well as observing and looking, but then being able to process that with someone becomes very, very important. As we talked about in previous classes on global leadership, asking those questions and being inquisitive, and even helping others to ask the right questions, or to help people to process through what is it I'm doing that's being perceived differently, or how do I see things that are much different, are important things. We also, in the TEDx video from Sungu So, she talks about her number one thing of becoming culturally proficient is mastering the language. And I'll have to admit, I am not a master of Siswati. I'm learning Nifunza Siswati, and I know a little bit of it. But one of the great things, and why I think it's important, is that in learning the language, we're also learning a lot of culture. At least that's been true for me in learning Siswati. For instance, some of the differences the Siswati language has over English is their value of people and relationships. Means that words that have to do with people and relationships, like mother and father or friend, any kind of human being, uses completely different prefixes in order to make those things plural or singular and possessive and those kind of things than any other noun that's not about a human being. And so those kind of things reflect the values of the community and the culture, even in the language. Another tip, I think, or important thing about adapting to diversity is to make sure that trips and experiences are longer than just short 2 or 3 week times, but to immerse oneself there. That when someone just goes for a week or two and then leaves in a week or two and leaves, then they miss out on learning more about what that place looks like. Here at the college, some ways that we try to help the students who come from all over Southern and East Africa, 10 or 12 different countries here on campus, we try to integrate that into class discussions. How does this apply to your culture? How is that different from your culture and this culture? And even having a course on cultural anthropology, which tends to be a really big turning point for our students when they first arrive in their first year, because there's a lot of conflict between people. And it's in cultural anthropology when they start studying the differences and why people are different, and that difference isn't bad, and it's not a problem to be solved, but it's something to be embraced, that they start realizing, oh, it's okay that you do that this way, because everyone doesn't have to be like me. And I think that's a great success. But the most important and most successful part of all of this for me, and also for our students, I think, again, is being together in community. That it's through living life together that we adapt to diversity, that we learn to understand one another and what the different perspectives we all bring, and how that strengthens us and helps us to accomplish the things that we want to accomplish.